We're 3 minutes into the trading day. We have ourselves a nice big fat rally on Wall Street. The Dow is up better than 800 points, a gain there of more than 3%. Broader market also rallying today. Let's bring in Victoria Fernandez. She is Chief Market Strategist at Crossmark Global Investments. Victoria, good to see you again. So what do you make of this huge market rally? I know there are a number of different forces sort of bringing us higher today, among them that big retail sales number. But what do you see as the driving force today?
No, you're right, Alexis. I think this is very much a headline-driven rally this morning, led by the retail sales number, as you mentioned. And we also have Trump speaking about an infrastructure deal. We have news that a steroid treatment could be possible for COVID-19 patients. So you have quite a few headline-driven things coming into play that is driving the market higher. But we also saw it earlier this week, too. I think there was so much concern about rising cases in some of the states that were reopening that we saw kind of a whipsaw in the markets over the last 5-6 trading sessions. Now I think we're back to the point where that is less of a concern on the reopening, and they're really focusing on some of these more positive headlines that we're seeing. You couple that with a Fed that is keeping rates low till 2022, and you've got an arena where the market can run higher.
Victoria, I'm sure you've seen the infrastructure news this morning. Is now the right time where you go out and you buy some of these Trump infrastructure stocks again? These were the plays in the lead up to President Trump getting elected here. The Caterpillars, the Vulcan Materials, do you buy them now?
Well, we saw that run up, like you mentioned, but then there was the huge pullback, a lot of that having to do with the U.S.-China trade tensions, but a lot of it also because the infrastructure deal never came to fruition. I don't think I would jump in with both feet on this. Again, it's just a potential deal at this point in time. It is an election year. We're getting closer and closer to election day, and so you're going to see the administration come out with new ideas and things to put through. If there are names that have solid fundamentals that you've wanted to add to your portfolio, then I think you can go ahead and put that in, but I wouldn't go all in on the sector just because of a potential deal.
All right, I want to check in with Jared Blickery now, who's been looking at the charts all morning long. And Jared, I see every one of the 30 Dow stocks are in rally mode right now.
Yeah, it's a broad-based rally here. Value and cyclicals leading, kind of like the last few 4 or 5 days of the correction we had. The mini correction didn't even exist. Really powerful price action overnight. We see a lot of strength in the Dow and some of the industrial names we were just talking about. Looking at the NASDAQ 100, the big FANG stocks in the green here, broad participation. And if we look at the leaders here, Baidu, United Airlines, Western Digital. So we got a broad assortment of different industries in the lead here. To the downside, we see some of the names that had been leading during the correction, like Zoom, for instance, and NVIDIA. Those are the only ones in the red, plus a handful of others right now. Just looking at the sectors, we are seeing industrials in the forefront, not surprising, followed by energy, materials, real estate, financials, utilities, all outperforming. To the downside, we have communication services, which had been leading yesterday, along with staples and tech. But I'll say just to the broader market point, we had been sitting on nice gains before we got any news about the steroid COVID treatment and also the retail sales. And it looks like we want to head back up to those highs that we saw last week, at minimum of 3,200 in the S&P 500, probably more like 3,250 to test those levels and maybe exceed them a bit before, just another pause here, Alexis.
All right. Thanks, Jared. Yeah, Victoria, you just heard Jared's report. All these new highs that the market continues to reach, the S&P up nearly, or I think about 40% since those lows in March. Talk to me about valuations and are you seeing pockets of bubbles in this market right now? I'm thinking big tech for one.
Well, I think what people need to be concerned with are the quick turnaround trades. That's where I think you could perhaps say there is a bubble, whether that's the reopening trade. We saw that turn around quickly. You had people saying, we need to jump into the cyclical names, and then that turned around on them. I think you need to be careful of trading on any of the headline news. Look for some of the more longer trends that are possible going forward. That could be a result of headline news. It could be COVID-19 has changed the way some of the businesses interact with their customers. They do things more online. It could be you're going to have more cloud, more 5G. These types of themes, these secular growth themes, we think are longer trends that are not going to be bubbles per se. Look for companies that have strong balance sheets. Look for companies with good margins. I mean, as an example, we came out of Comcast and went into Charter, still in that same arena, but going from a company that had some media component to a pure broadband play. So I think those are the types of names you need to look at. Don't jump on a headline bandwagon. That's where your bubbles are going to be. And we've seen that in the last few trading sessions.
Victoria, I knew you were coming on clearly and had a lot of stock questions prepared for you. What about biotech? I know we hit a lot of sectors this morning. What about the pharma sector? We're seeing news this morning pop the market on a potential steroid treatment from Merck and Novartis, I believe. Do you buy those two names or do you go somewhere else like a Moderna?
Again, I think you need to look at long-term on these companies. Who has a strong pipeline of drugs that they can use going forward? We don't know what's going to happen with these COVID-19 treatments. We have positive news that comes out, and then immediately, or in 2 or 3 days, that turns around. We saw that with Gilead. I actually think I was on when Gilead had their big announcement not too long ago, and we saw what a quick turnaround happened in that stock. So I'm not opposed to pharma at all, and we have names in our portfolio. We have names like a Pfizer or like a Lilly, but you have to be careful that you're looking longer term. Don't just trade because you get a headline on a COVID-19 treatment and assume that that's going to carry through all the different phases of trials that they have.
Hey, Victoria, we saw the Fed really move things yesterday for this market. We saw that reversal of fortune once the Fed came out and said they're going to backstop corporate debt. We're going to hear from Chairman Powell in just a little bit. We're going to be carrying his testimony before Congress live here on Yahoo Finance at the top of the hour. But what are you hoping to hear from him today? Do you think he might be a little less pessimistic than he has been?
He was actually more pessimistic than people anticipated, right, at the FOMC meeting, and we saw the market react to that. I'm not sure we're going to hear much of anything different today. I would be surprised if his story changed at all from just a week ago. I think they're going to continue to talk about how they are concerned with the economy going forward, and I think they're going to stay that way until we see more positive news coming out of the administration as far as the paychecks that people are getting, the stimulus for the paychecks. They want to see some news beyond the end of July when those payments are supposed to stop, because that has really been supporting the consumer right now. And we see that in the retail sales numbers. They're going to want to see more positive news in regards to the reopenings. Instead of cases going higher, they want to see cases go down. Until they see that, I think the Fed is going to take more of that pessimistic or cautious view that we heard at the FOMC meeting. I wouldn't expect anything different from Powell today.
All right, Victoria Fernandez, Chief Market Strategist at Crossmark Global Investments. Always good to see you.